Thank you very much for coming out on this very nice day. I know it's probably a little bit of a trauma to get you in from the beautiful outdoors, but I think you're going to feel it's very, very worth your while having come to this session. We're just really, really pleased to be able to host today our speaker, who, as you've seen, is coming to us from Ethiopia, Dr. Bogaletch Gebre, and I'm going to introduce her in a little bit. Not just yet, but just to say real quickly that her presence here is because she's the winner of the King Badouin Africa Leader Prize this year. And this is the second time we've been able to do this, working with Jean-Paul Ormos and with the Belgian embassy, Peter Van Acker here, who's representing the embassy, and to host the prize winner, which is a great honor for us. And we'll tell you about the work that she's doing on gender issues. But I wanted to, the order of business today will be this. I'm going to ask Sharon Weiner, who's the acting ambassador at large and director of the Secretary of State's Office of Global Women's Issues, to come up and give us a greeting and say a few opening remarks. Then we're going to look at a video that tells us a little bit about Dr. Gebre's work, and then we will ask her to make a few remarks, but mostly she wants to interact with you and open it up for questions and answers and dialogue. So that's why we'll proceed, so welcome. We are being webcast live, so keep that in mind as we proceed. When we are having a dialogue in the room, we will have microphones available, and we need that so that the viewing audience can hear you. But also at that time, you want to introduce yourself, give your name and your association. So with no further ado on my part, let me invite Ambassador Weiner to come up and address us.
Thank you very much, Steve. Good afternoon. It's a real pleasure to be here today. And I would like to thank the Wilson Center and Steve McDonald for hosting this terrific event and having us all here. And I can tell you, having heard Bogaletch Gebre talk earlier today, I can assure you, you are in for a very inspiring experience, and you will not regret at all that you're inside on such a beautiful day. I'd also like to publicly convey my heartfelt congratulations to Bogaletch Gebre on receiving the King Badouin African Development Prize, and commend her for her tireless work to advance the rights of women and girls in Ethiopia. It's an honor for all of us to have you here with us today, Boge. Boge Gebre's inspirational leadership and efforts have empowered countless of women and girls in Ethiopia and have catalyzed true community change through dialogue and debate, from issues such as HIV/AIDS prevention to the elimination of female genital mutilation cutting to bridal abductions of young girls. As we will all hear from her, her organization, KMG, also works to address broader development challenges, including issues of women's economic opportunity, education, and gender norms, all critical to advancing the status of women and girls. As a result of her community-based approach, Boge Gebre's work has yielded transformative impact. For example, in just 10 years, KMG has helped dramatically reduce FGM incidents in the areas where it has worked, from 100% to less than 3% of newborn girls. This remarkable model, based on community trust and dialogue, is one from which we can draw many lessons. Today is a great opportunity for us here in Washington to learn more about your work in the field and to congratulate you again, Boge. As we all know, violence against women and girls is a critical human rights, health, social, and economic issue. Such violence affects not only women, but also children and families, and poses considerable costs to societies, both economically and socially. Gender-based violence is, at root, a manifestation of the low status of women and girls around the world. And ending violence requires elevating the status of women and girls and freeing their potential to be agents of change in their community. Sorry. Sorry, whoa. I really need to suck on something. It's nice outside, but there are allergies. FMGC is also a human rights, health, social, and economic issue. While the practice still continues, we have come a long way in the past 10 years, due in large part to the tremendous efforts of leaders such as Bogaletch Gebre. The State Department is committed to supporting the efforts of champions such as her. Under the leadership of President Obama, the United States has put gender equality and the advancement of women and girls at the forefront of the 3 pillars of U.S. foreign policy: diplomacy, development, and defense. This commitment is embodied in the President's National Security Strategy, the Presidential Policy Directive on Global Development, the 2010 U.S. Quadrennial Diplomacy and Development Review, as well as the State Department's sweeping policy guidance on gender equality. From the perspective of advancing women's rights, there couldn't be a more exciting time to be working on these issues. We have an administration and a president, a vice president, and a secretary of state who are all very strong and vocal advocates for women. We are committed to incorporating women's issues into all aspects of our foreign policy. Evidence demonstrates that women's empowerment is critical to building stable democratic societies, to supporting open and accountable governance, to furthering international peace and security, to growing vibrant market economies, and to addressing pressing health and education challenges. Preventing and responding to gender-based violence is a cornerstone of this effort and our commitment to gender equality. Such violence significantly hinders the ability of individuals to participate in and contribute to their families and communities, economically, politically, and socially. In August, the United States released its first ever strategy to prevent and respond to gender-based violence globally, which was accompanied by a presidential executive order directing its implementation by all relevant U.S. government agencies. The strategy sets out concrete objectives and actions to marshal the United States' expertise and capacity to address gender-based violence and represents a multi-sector and whole-of-government approach, one that includes justice, legal, security, health, education, economic, social services, humanitarian, and development sectors. As part of this strategy, beginning in 2013, the State Department's annual human rights reports included more robust reporting on FGMC as well as on child marriage. Over the last few years, the U.S. has increasingly highlighted FGMC as an issue of top priority. In 2012, we held the first ceremony at the State Department to commemorate International Day of Zero Tolerance for FGM, hosted by former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton. The event highlighted the work of the United Nations, of community-based organizations, and the role of religious leaders in addressing this practice. Earlier this year, we held another event to commemorate the day again. In the last few years alone, we have seen a number of promising changes, both domestically and abroad. For example, earlier this year, the Girls Protection Act was passed with bipartisan support on the Hill and with tremendous leadership from Representative Joe Crowley of New York and Representative Mary Bono Mack. The act makes it illegal for families residing in the United States to send their children abroad to undergo FGMC in their countries of origin. In December, the UN General Assembly passed a resolution on the elimination of FGMC. Not only was this passed by a significant majority of states, but it was actively supported in large part by the group of African states. Their involvement in the passage of this resolution, even though I know, unfortunately, this is a non-binding resolution, is still a sign of momentous change that has occurred on this issue, and evidence that momentum is being created by citizens, activists, and leaders. Political commitment regarding this issue is critical, but it is not enough. For this to be a truly effective effort, we will all need to work together: policymakers, community leaders, civil society, and the international community. The U.S. Department of State recognizes the need to raise awareness among communities at the grassroots level and in humanitarian settings to address the practice of FGMC. Last year, the U.S. announced support for the launch of the Kenya Center of Excellence, which will be based at the University of Nairobi, to create an Africa-based center for learning and research towards the abandonment of FGMC on the continent. In 2000, the U.S. Agency for International Development officially incorporated elimination of FGMC into its development agenda, issuing an official policy and strategy on FGMC that underscored FGMC as a serious health and human rights issue. USAID was also a co-founder of an international donors working group on FGM, which is dedicated to expanding and strengthening partnerships and increasing resources for abandonment of this harmful traditional practice. The Office of Global Women's Issues in the State Department is working to address these issues diplomatically and through our programmatic efforts. For example, we have funded a program in northern Iraq to provide survivor services and promote an educational campaign that has led to FGM-free village declarations. We have also worked with our Office of the Special Envoy to Sudan to support an FGM program in Sudan. We are working with USAID colleagues to support our embassies and missions in the field to highlight this issue. Bogaletch Gebre's work demonstrates the need for a multi-sectoral approach to eliminating FGM, one that includes community-led responses, social norms change, and political commitment. Like her, we see women and girls as powerful agents of change, not merely as victims of poverty and abuse. And we are focusing on creative and innovative ways to harness the power of women to be part of the solution. Zero tolerance for FGMC, gender-based violence, and all harmful practices is not an idea meant only for governments. It begins with each of us. Many movements are started by one individual taking a stand for his or her beliefs, not knowing how the fight will end, but knowing that they can make a difference. Bogaletch Gebre, I would like to commend you once again for your inspiration and your leadership, and for your efforts to build successful strategies and tools to empower women and girls. We look forward to hearing from you today. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ambassador Weiner. Now, as I explained, I'll leave the podium now, and we're going to show this video for Dr. Bogaletch Gebre, and I return to the podium. Oh, no, no, wait. We'll do it from the podium, not speak from there. We'll do it informally. So it's because you have your mic on here.
My name is Bogaletch Gebre, and I am an Ethiopian woman working towards eliminating gender-based violence. The following is my story, and I hope you will be inspired to join us to make the world a better place for the dignity of men and women. You are in Kambata Tambaro zone.
she decided to return to her country.
Having grown up in a condition I grew up, having experienced what I have experienced, having given opportunity I was given, which is a miracle by itself, to go from this place, to go through Israel, America, and be in California, at that in Santa Monica, jog every day, go to a spa, you know, just unquestionable, unacceptable that I would not do something to change the life of here, of the girls of my neighborhood or my country if I could. But I would start in a place where I know, with the people I know, the culture I know, the faces I know, the language I know, the problem I know.
The organization Boge founded, KMG, envisions a society where women are free from all forms of discrimination and violence. Boge asks the women two questions. Who has been circumcised? Who has circumcised her daughter?
All of them are circumcised, but they have not circumcised. The second raising hand was that all of them did not circumcise their daughters.
Through social mobilization and community conversations, KMG has succeeded in helping most of the women understand what excision means. They have experienced the horror, but today their daughters are free. KMG engages people and helps them to understand basic truths, such as the damage female mutilation inflicts on a woman's psyche and her health.
galti woyya ta'ee dhamee jechuun goon dagan gusantoota neen gal woyya gusantoota neen gal woyya goon dagan
matsanese zareemmatanne pestulla yenno moosu qalita shumase bombu billituse abba shuma fultay mettu keech aacitama mannin.
When they find out that they didn't have to do it, the lost life is for nothing, why can't we stop? Why not? Because it's not in the Bible, it's not in the Quran, it's not in the law. Why are we continuing it? So they reach some kind of understanding and consensus, and they create their own law to stop. We didn't dictate, we didn't say stop. They will make their own decision. Voila.
According to a UNICEF study, female genital mutilation in the Kambata-Tembaro zone decreased from nearly 100% in 1999 to less than 3% in 2008. Today, a woman does not need to get excised to get married. Demekesh and her husband Tafisi wanted to be the first couple in their area to publicly announce the fact that she was uncut.
قوتيهن بقى تمرتا بيرسانا نكيان أمو كنن نقاشماتو سيوم تمارسينا نيان تمرتا ساقيمي زكين كوت أو هيلت أو يكوك هي كبوجي بايل فرط أو يكوك بقون تاقيمي زكين هو لما كنا كنو قسنتنين
ونجيشون آجي بوجي درجتين آجي مكينان بيدون تكارسينان مني آجسين بادي أني أواي قبله جنبار قدماسين ونبي نسان تماريين Hagin semi, Eva Kenini and
KMG's approach of eliminating harmful customary practices such as female genital mutilation. Its approach is not addressing female genital mutilation in isolation outside of women's life. Education is a very central part of our work because education opens people's mind. Education gives opportunity. Education helps people, particularly women, a peripheral vision.
KMG set up a school that is now managed by the local community. Abeba is 20. She attended school here. Today, she's studying civil engineering. She wants to come back to the area and work to improve local infrastructure. She explains why Boge is a role model.
I'm a good student. Because of that, I have a hope to join university. Normally, when she learn like to us, I think she has no any comfortable condition like to us. Because of that, by using this and other chances, we want to go self-confident.
These are mothers of the children whom we have helped the children first in buying material, school material, in buying uniforms. For each family, we started helping one child. We build asset for that family. We help that family to build their own income, their own asset, so that they continue to teach, to send their children to school, not only one child. They are organized, operating in areas they are comfortable with, meaning they trade grain, they trade the fatten cows, whatever the market is good to sell.
Oh, what a remarkable film, and what a remarkable job you're doing there. It is really moving. We promised this would be a conversation, but I think maybe if you just open with a few remarks, elaborating on what we've seen or anything else that you would like to tell us, and then we'll take the questions and deal with the people.
What can I say after all this? Thank you, really, making time to be here today. You are here not because we didn't have something else to do, but you gave importance to the issue that I'm present here. And I would like to thank King Badouin Foundation to have created this kind of opportunity and its principles. Usually when you win an award, you are given either money or plaque or certificate and you are sent home. King Badouin Foundation did differently. It gave issue an importance, not only celebrated the individual, but celebrated the issue, the overcoming of the danger to women. The celebration is not of an individual alone, but celebration of freedom for women, in my case. And I really, really, really appreciate this. It became a global issue in the last 2-3 weeks. There are so many papers which have covered this issue, and many, many people have heard not about the danger of female genital mutilation, but the danger, the overcoming that female genital mutilation, as well as other forms of discrimination and violence against women, is possible to stop. It is possible to stop. And this is what today the film, which began from my childhood, and the story which you saw, and what Sharon, if I call you, I'm sorry you almost choked trying to talk, really. And she told you the story. I don't have to repeat about female genital mutilation. But what I want to emphasize is, how does this change take place? How does this change take place? Why culture is a kind of seems to be fundamentally at odds with the human rights of women, and particularly when it comes to Africa. How did we work to bring this kind of change? How did we work to bring this kind of change? In 1998, when we did our baseline survey, female genital mutilation in the area we were working, Kambata Tembaro zone, as it was said, it was 100%. By year 2002, when UNICEF did the study, it has been reduced by 97%. Not only female genital mutilation, but bride abduction, widow inheritance, that has been, was a given. And not only female genital mutilation, but reduction and the mitigation of HIV/AIDS in the area. How all this come to be? What did KMG did any different than any other organization that has been going on for ages? Female genital mutilation has been talked about, spoken about, written about for many, many, many years. Yet, we started seeing changes. Why? One, I think our assumption, the way we entered into the community was there's no parent, not single parent that knowingly would harm their children. None. That is human to all, whether it is Africa or Asia, anywhere. Why are they doing? It's because simply mothers believed it is in their religion, in their culture, the misconception. And it is mother's role to prepare her daughter to be a good wife, a docile wife, an obedient wife. And it's a celebratory condition, a celebratory time where cat girls come out announcing they're being grown up. So what we did was taking that assumption, taking my own experience as a girl, and having been given opportunity to know it is danger later on in my life, I said to myself, well, if I could change, why not my people? Why not my neighbors? If I could change one girl, I have done my job in life. I had an opportunity because of one single woman who asked me whether I had undergone. And I was mad at her, I was angry at her, because it was taboo. It was the most sacred issue where not simply people don't ask somebody else whether you are gone through it. But as I reflected, as I read about it, my rage about my loss, my rage, not because of my loss, but the rage and anger about loss of my sister, my older sister, who was just 2 years older than I, who died as a result of this, and my other sisters who later died as a result of infection. As I started recalling all people I knew and the young mothers who became sterile as a result of infection. All this started, the rage started coming up. And luckily for me, I turned that rage and that anger into energy. And I decided to say to myself, can I save one girl? That's all what I wanted to do, really, truly. But then, when I started working, I also didn't know. I mean, I couldn't address the issue singularly. Because when you see women's life, when you listen to women, they tell you, they give you direction. When we discussed concept of gender, for the first time a woman understood that gender is man-made phenomena. The roles they are given in life is not God-given, but man-made. And they also understood that as it is man-made, it can be also unmade, undone. So they became agents of their own change. Nobody could stop them. But they started asking me questions. Bogi, you are saying we are equal with men. If I go home and tell my husband I'm equal with my husband, what would I do if he does the same, what he does usually, which means beat me? Then they taught us to bring the constitutional right, the legal right of the country and the penal codes and the international norms and laws that Ethiopia is signatory to it. And we taught the young, the old, religious leaders, teachers, students, women. That became their instrument. But then they said, Boge, we know that the law is on our side. We can take our husbands to court. But am I going to ask him, give me money, I'll take you to police station? But this is honestly truth, I'm telling you. With that, they taught us, they guided us that we have to empower women economically so that they can have their own voice. When we taught them about health, and we said, in your first trimester, go to see a doctor. You must be kidding. We are only taken to a doctor when we are in the last deathbed. Which doctor are you talking about? With what capacity can we go 300 kilometers to Addis Ababa to a doctor, or to Awasa, 137 kilometers? Nobody takes us to hospital. There's no hospital. So we built the first mother and child hospital with the community's help and the government. And we said, boil water when you give to your child, because under 5 days of your babies as a result of waterborne disease. They laughed at us. We go 3 hours to fetch 1 jar of water, and you ask us to boil water? With that, they taught us how to rehabilitate the springs, the rivers, the environment. We were working in a very, very densely populated area, and the environment was totally denuded. And we had this huge, handsome, beautiful mystic mountain called Hambaricho. And that Hambaricho mountain has been degraded totally, and the watershed has been dried out. So we started rehabilitating with the community, and we planted over 10 million trees. But it's not just planting 10 million trees on the mountain, but bringing the knowledge, sensitizing community about the importance of the ecological protection and environmental protection. And each individual in their neighborhood started planting tree, and the springs and the rivers started coming. And so on and so forth. I could tell you what we have learned from the community. From that knowledge, we started linking ecological problem, economic problem, social problem, meaning issues that affect communities in daily life. When we started doing that, the concept of gender-based violence, the concept of human rights, the concept of good governance, the concept of how human life should be led started coming clear to the community. And they started listening to us. They started listening to us with the first bridge. When I started talking, the first time when I started talking in the church, I spoke 45 minutes. Everybody was mesmerized because I'm talking about taboo issue that is not spoken about. Women were holding their mouth. How can she say this? And they were nudging each other. Some were crying, some were laughing. But at the end of the day, their concern was a bridge which crosses over a difficult gorge of a river called Marcosa. And at the end, they asked me, Boge, the river Marcosa, which you used to cross, today our children cannot go to school, our wives coming back from market, they're falling and dying, and so on and so forth. That's their priority. So I had $5,000 at that time in my pocket. I did not think of a bridge. I did not think of a mountain rehabilitation. But the community told me in no undoubtful terms that if I did not listen to them, they didn't verbalize, but this was absolutely clear. If I did not address their priority, the concept of human right, reducing violence against women, issues that are strategic would not happen. So we started linking all this. We built the first bridge with the community, and that linked us with the community, and it became our approach. So for traditional society, really speaking about human rights in abstract would not work. But what makes it real is linking it with their daily life. And also, to do that, you must understand the language, the spoken language and unspoken language, the culture, the milieu, how community operate. You start from where people are. You don't bring something from outside and try to impose on them, because then they start rebelling. But because we started from within, things started coming easier and easier. Today, in the area we started, women are elected, women are appointed for local government to regional government to federal government, and women are making their own decision. Women have created their own militia to protect themselves. Women are demanding justice and getting justice. In Kambata area, not Kambata only, but we started in a very small area of population, 2,500. Today we are working directly with 6 million in 26 districts, really seeing much faster changes than we started at the time, better than the time we started in. And the changes are taken not just in the woman's life, in the whole community's life, particularly those who are gatekeepers of culture. Gatekeepers of culture have accepted a way of life that is totally different than what it used to be. And they are celebrating uncut girls and the young men who are marrying them and the families and communities who have supported them. Now, when we talk about really human rights of women, each time when we raise the issue of a human right of women, it's always culture. It seems that culture is at odds with the human rights of women, which is not true. We must ask then why violence against women has endured so long. This is a question I want to pose to this House. Historically, there are many cultures that have changed, many cultures. Facial scarification, body decoration, so many things have changed. For instance, Sudanese men used to have scars on their faces. When they started going to universities in London and America, people started asking them why they are scarred, what is this scar? And they were ashamed. And when they went back home, they stopped. They told that, nobody made a decree. It is stopped. Things like female genital mutilation, which is equal to castration, why did it survive? Why? Why didn't we stop? It is killing us. Do you think if what is happening to female did happen to male, you think the world will keep quiet? I don't think so. The world will not keep quiet. I think there are issues that this House, this center, Woodrow Wilson Center, should raise. To me, there are four, in modern time, there are four issues that keep perpetuating the subjugation of women. Why women are discriminated, why women are violated. The first and the foremost is, so far, women's work in the world, women's contribution in the world is not known. the history of mankind, which is, if you divide history into two, his story is the story of a man's achievement in military, in science, in art. In everything is a man's story that is written and perpetuated and told from generation to generation. Woman's contribution in the human story is not told. Therefore, from generation to generation, women are not valued as value producing, devoid their contribution from human story. How can one generation respect something does not have a good memory of the past? Therefore, to me, prejudice against women perpetuated because they don't have any value in human story. Second, religion sanctioned the inferiority of women. Particularly if you read the teaching in the Catholic Church. I'm sorry, those of you who are Catholics and honor, I don't mean any, disrespect to Catholic religion, but in the Catholic religion, the myth of Adam and Eve, Catholic religion teaches us that woman is cursed because she is the one who misled a man who is created in the God's image, which even the devil did not dare. Because of her inquisitiveness, God has cursed her. God has cursed her with a pregnancy and with pain, with all its pain, including work. And further, it goes on saying that for her to be pregnant, her permission is not even asked. The fact that she is pregnant determines her fate. Basically confirming and making rape acceptable. And this is true in Islam, in Christian, and Judaism, making her a lower, inferior being. The third modern time, which takes women out of value, is the way economics calculated. National gross and domestic product, which is calculated, the UN system that calculates in each and every country's national gross and domestic product, does not calculate women's household work. The United Nations calculating system includes everything, every activity that is done by human. Every activity. Woman in her position as a housewife, not only she bears children, she rears children, she is the first teacher, particularly in African situation. She is a farmer, she is a weeder, she is a collector, she is harvester, she is a processor, she prepares food, she is a healer, she is a counselor, she is a marketer, she is everything. And she does that without any payment. She gives her love, her labor, without any return. All that system that calculates every activity of every human activity puts women's work outside production, leaving women statistically, economically invalid and invaluable. She doesn't have value. Therefore, a nation, when creates revenue or calculates its yearly investment and reinvestment, puts women outside of that. Because why would you put your money where there's no profit, where there's no value? Today, as you know, only less than 1% of world's aid in Africa or in African economy goes to women's cause. Less than 1%. Sharon talked about a lot of United States contribution and United States really support to gender issues and gender cause. But when it comes to national calculation, less than 1% goes to women's cause. A third reason why women's value and discrimination continues is the so-called democratic countries of Africa, Asia, including your country. Woman may be in a boardroom today, but when she goes home or on the street, she's violated. She doesn't have a value. But in Africa particularly, women's value, women's work is not given any value. The elite of Africa, when it comes to gender-based violence, it's a lip service. The democratic governance or the democratic countries of Africa, they put every law on the paper, including, of course, the United Nations law, which was passed in December, which you mentioned in Sharon earlier. It is a non-binding act, non-binding, what do you call it? Convention? The United Nations passed? Legislation, whatever. But it's non-binding. Non-binding, what does it mean? It's on the paper. There's no enforcement. Countries and government are not obligated. They're not obligated. If there is no recourse to it, what value does a law in paper make? The elite of Africa, they will write, they will sign. There's huge policy, and particularly Ethiopia. There are amazing laws that supposedly women's cause, but it's not enforceable. They don't enforce one. They're afraid of the traditional leaders who are opinion makers, which sway the during election. They control the community's opinion. Therefore, they don't want to go against. Do you know what is the law in Ethiopia against female genital mutilation? It's a 500 birr and 3 months or 3 months imprisonment. You know what 500 birr? My sister, she's also a lawyer. She used to be our board member, Mahdar, from Ethiopia. She knows. She used to work on that. And it's non-enforceable. So every law that supports women's cause is just on the paper. So from historical period to the period of today, to today's state, women's cause or women's value throughout history is just lip service. We can write, we can repeat, we can talk about it unless there is a commitment to action. That commitment action does not come by law. It has to go down to the ground level with the community. It has to be real within the community. But the policies that are made in the higher level has to come down and be enforced. Who will enforce? Who will do that? It takes commitment. Not just an individual, but commitment from the government. This is lip service. How long are we going to talk about it? How long are we going to talk about and discuss about its danger, about women's position? How long have we been talking? What has changed? Seemingly because women are dressed, women are going to school, women are holding job. But in your countries, there was a statistics recently that I read. In many of the developed countries, industrialized nation, women are still getting half of the salary of men for the same job. You know, women do much better job than men in a very, very same position, because they are committed, because most of the time in leadership, if women are given leadership, they're not corrupted. How many women are imprisoned because of corruption? How many women are caught killing? How many women are caught stealing? When is that going to stop? When are we going to see women as persons? All that because women do not have that personhood. The personhood that gives her, makes her different than any other animal. A will for choice. A choice to decide by herself on her body, on her life, like any man. That's what woman doesn't have. Therefore, she can be violated anytime, anywhere. It is that personhood that women have to work. It is that personhood women have to fight. It is that person of choice that women have to work. Women have to take the leadership. Like Marx said in the early revolution, in the early socialist movement, workers have nothing to lose but their chain, right? Women have nothing to lose. Maybe the next revolution has to be led by women. I believe that. I believe that because unless women take their life in their own hands, their fate in their own hands, and make a non-violent revolution, because they can't be violent because they don't command arms and armaments. The only revolution they can do is non-violent revolution. And it is that kind of revolution only that can give and bring sustainable change. I don't know, I have mumbled. I've talked a lot, but please do ask. I have so much to tell you, so much to answer you if you really, really ask. So thank you for listening. I didn't prepare in a way I need to prepare to such an audience. When I came in and I sat there and you're going to speak, I said, I'm going to speak. So
she did.
So please, if you take from this talk, from this speech.
Then she said to me, don't worry, I'll think of something to say.
From this speech, if you are going to take anything, take this. Women must gain their personhood. Women must gain identity. Women must get their intrinsic value to be recognized in the world. Thank you.
We only have about 20 more minutes in the session, so why don't we open it up to the floor, but let's take 3 or 4 comments, questions all at once, try to get a number in, and then allow Dr. Gebre to respond as she can. The first one I see is right there on the aisle.
Thank you. My name is Maria. Dr. Bogaletch, I appreciate what you are doing for Ethiopian people. I know you are doing great things for Ethiopia. Your work I know because I was there. And also I was circumcised at the same age like you, and I understand what you're talking. No, everything was correct. But only I just want to clarify something. I myself am a Catholic. I was working for Ethiopian Catholic Secretariat as a gender coordinator and female genital mutilation program. And Catholic Church teaches against women violence, HTPs, and teaches gender equality. The church believes men and women are equal. And the information you said that was, no, it was not correct, sorry to say that. I don't know from where you got that information, because I myself was grown up in the church, around the church, and I was working until recently. Just I want to say that we are working with different NGOs to eradicate harmful traditional practice. Just
Okay, thank you, Maria. We'll come back to it. Next question on the aisle there. We're getting the outliers.
Thank you so much. My name is Mahadera. I'm so excited, Boge, just to meet you after 4 years. I was a board member to KMG, and Boge is our inspirational for most of us. It was a good thing that we've been cooperating on many aspects in pursuing the women's rights issues in Ethiopia. I could say a lot of things, but I don't want to take more time. But what I would like to say is, if you could enlighten us a little bit about what efforts have been made in the course where there were victims who have already undergone female genital mutilation, because nowadays most men in the areas have started to say, we want to marry an uncut girl. So because of that, there were already victims as a result of this huge change from 100% to 3%. So if you could tell us a little bit about that. Thank you.
Thank you. Very interesting question. One right down front here.
Hi, my name is Elizabeth Silva. I work with Save the Children. And first, I just want to thank you so much for coming and speaking to us today, and congratulations on this very prestigious award. I'm curious if you could elaborate a little bit just on the terminology of female genital mutilation versus female genital cutting versus circumcision, and why you've been using the term female genital mutilation, and just if you could explain that. Thank you.
And one more, right there, right in front of you. Aminata, thank you.
My name is Rhoda Duku. I'm a master's student of African Studies at Ohio University. And I work with an NGO in Ghana called Remodeling Early Mothers Initiative. We work with women and children, but in Ghana, FGM is not so common. But with the northern part of it, as part of religion, it's like a practice that goes through. From all that you said, as a change agent, most of these young girls go through it at a tender age, and when they become teenagers, they get pregnant and have complications. I'd like to ask you, as an activist who wants to be a change agent in my society, how do I go about creating awareness to help curb such a situation, to add to what I'm doing? Thanks.
Okay. I think that gives you a lot to comment on.
Okay, which one?
Where would you, well, why don't you start with Maria's question on the church, where she challenged you a little bit.
Yes,
and see what
Maria, it's not my making. It is, I'll refer you to book where I quote this. There is a book, I forgot, I think his name was Holloway, where I can't direct you about the year of the book, but I have here, I'll give you the source. So it is not defaming the church without a really reason. I'll give you the reference point, and I'll direct you to where it is. If you want, I can read it to you, but it will take some time.
Yeah, let's do that afterwards. You can,
yes, I'll give you personally, but it is true. It's not that what I have created. So it's not anything against Catholic Church. Believe me.
Okay.
Okay.
Magda's question on what about the women who have undergone
Yes.
FMG
Yes.
and what's happening to them now and what you're doing
Yes,
to help?
Maider, she knows from where we started, and it is a very, very important question. What we're doing is, yes, today young men are preferring to get married to uncut girls, but what are we doing with already cut and survivals of female genital mutilation? They're not victims. If they were victims, they would have been died, like my sister. They are survivals. What are we doing? What we have established with them? We have made them teachers of the younger girls, telling their stories, they're telling their suffering. And we incorporated the uncut girls and the cut girls. We organized them especially in saving and credit and in sports. We have volleyball, soccer, athletics, which young women are organized. So both uncut and cut girls, I will come to the terminology of cut circumcision. They are organized. What we would have loved to create was counseling. I was trying to work with the Addis Ababa University psychiatry department is not strong, and we don't have really people who have really gone down and studied and understood the psychic of analyzing the psychology of cut girls. Maybe this is the area what we were going to direct some university students want to do research and analyze and create some kind of a counseling pamphlet, a mechanism that we can share with other organizations. So it's very, very, very good question. And this raises a point. One time a woman who was in the workshop said that, you know, when we discussed about the numbness and the mutilation of her body, and we discussed about what part of that body, of her body, is taken away, because women do not know what is taken away from them. So she, and after she learned, she said, no wonder my husband, who is alive, is sleeping with me, who is a dead body. And if I shouldn't wonder if he starts looking outside. And she started crying. So yes, there is an impact. Yes, there is a problem. But we have not learned yet. We have not organized yet. We have not created a counseling system, which really this woman need. Maybe even in the U.S. system, that you can maybe start, young people should start maybe analyzing and talking and studying, coming and study and producing materials that will help for developing counseling material in the future.
Okay, and Elizabeth's terminology question.
Terminology, female genital mutilation. Traditionally, it used to be circumcision. And many activists saw that circumcision does not describe what is done to women. Circumcision is, in a male cutting, is to circumcise, meaning taking out the auspices of a penis, meaning the skin, cutting out the skin. That is circumcision. Without cutting the real body, but the skin is also body. So it is not circumcision. And the West terminology, the activists who were working on female genital mutilation said it should be mutilation, because a woman is being mutilated. A woman is being mutilated. Now, later on, the African woman throws, you are really criminalizing our mothers who not of their own will, who are doing and preparing their daughters. You are criminalizing, and therefore it shouldn't be called mutilation, and it should be called cutting. So there is an argument between mutilation and cutting. So today it is called FGM and FGC/C, FGM/C. So these are the three terminologies that being used.
Okay, and then our sister from Ghana who asked you to give her advice on how to become an activist and to raise awareness in Ghana of these issues.
To become an activist and to really address this issue, it comes from within. You commit, you decide. Each step you go, each step you take, it teaches you. Each step you take, it teaches you. In other words, when you start with a community, where you are starting, know that community, how to approach, what language to use. It is not a colloquial language I'm talking about, but spoken and unspoken words, body language. Sometimes in my country, what one would say, yes, it's no. So when you enter to a community, discuss with the community, especially women. Take their wisdom, take their advice. How to start? Start small. We started with 2,500 people in 4 Qabales, which is sub-district. And it teaches you, when you start a problem, to solve a problem, that problem itself tries to create solution and it guides you. For me, there's no prescription that I can't tell you. It's a multi-stage approach. Start small, discuss with the community, understand that community, what is their priority, relate to that priority, listen to them, learn from them, and then facilitate. I don't know if that is an advice, but it's an abstract until you start. But have a courage to start if you are really, truly interested in changing.
Okay, we have time for one more round. The first hand I saw was right there. The second hand was right behind you. I'm trying to be fair here, but it looks like it's going to be in the middle. Okay.
My name is Ashley Mills. I'm with DTS. And I was just wondering if you could talk about if you work with men to engage them to support your goals with women.
Very good question. And right behind Derek, yeah.
Hi, my name is Kelsey. I'm also with Save the Children in the Education Department, and was very curious to know if you've had any thoughts about connecting with the Ministry of Education to discuss getting sort of your message into the national curriculum.
And then right across there in the center.
She actually asked my question.
Oh, okay, great. And then right in front, yep. And we'll be able to get to this side.
My name is Dr. Hannah Claus. I'm OBGYN. And I would like to, first of all, I think what you're doing is fantastic. Congratulations. But I would like to propose another approach to bringing women up to the state of equal partnership with men. When we started a program in Kenya in natural family planning, initially it was for the spacing of children, but because the men had to learn about the women's bodies as well as their own, we found that within a year, the women and the men were on the same basis. The women were sharing the decisions about how to spend the money, how to buy books, children's clothes, and so forth. And I thought by owning their bodies for the first time, they had really come to the level of real equal partnership in the marriage. And I would like to propose that as another way of making women fully persons.
That sort of relates to the first question too, what about men? And then I did see a hand here somewhere? Oh, no, this is it, yeah.
Hi, my name is Layla Yosef. I work with USAID. My question was, have you been able to incorporate some of the messaging around FGM within the Health Extension Worker Program in Ethiopia, where the 16 package interventions, but also behavioral change, communication, and whatnot? And so to what extent those have been incorporated within that approach? Or within that program, sorry.
Okay, thank you very much. I think we have some natural groupings here. Ashley's question on what about the men, and then I think the question on bringing men into the decision process, making them more fully understand what goes on in terms of women's bodily functions and family planning, et cetera. And the last two questions are a little bit about national programming, how to deal with the ministries, with the extension program, and et cetera.
I don't know, through my mumbling, if I didn't make it clear. Our approach is really, it's a multifaceted. It is multi-trust approach. Multi-trust means everybody in the community is represented. In fact, when we do community conversation, this engaging community, two facilitators, trained facilitators, engage 50 people. In that 50 people, one is men, one is woman, 25 women, 25 men, young and old, learned, educated, non-literate. Everybody that represent a community represented. So it is really, truly men, women making decision together. So man is involved. And in fact, men have a bigger advantage and they hold upper hand. Why? They are educated first, more than women in the community. Two, they are vocal because they have learned how to speak from birth, while women are opening up just now. So it is men's importance in the community very, very, very well recognized and used, and men become advocates. Today in the area, men are supporting women in household chores. If she's making coffee, he's going fetch water if they don't have younger children to fetch water. So they're supporting each other. And that is something I have not expected to see in my life, really. Man going to Gwada. Gwada means the women's section. Those who are Ethiopians will understand that. Women's section where woman cooks and does hair chores. So yes, men are the biggest factor. And understanding their body. That is a fantastic idea, what you brought, but we have already are doing. How are we doing? We have introduced this mechanism of birth control. The first stage of birth control mechanism, natural birth control mechanism through beads. There's a doctor, I don't know if you know her, she's Austrian, Dr. Maria, who have developed a bead system, a colored bead system, how to control menstruation period. The first stage of doing it is learning about woman's body, what it means, what being pregnant means, what is really the sexual organs are, men's and women's, and where the fallopian tubes, how the eggs come down. Guess what? It's men and women who teach, young men and young women. As I said, equality is not about just gender equality, it's not about females, not only girls, men and women. So the teachers are men and women, teaching about the body. And I would be kind of shy of naming the body parts. Today's girls, they will tell you openly, really amazingly. So yes, we are doing, and it's a very good suggestion, and I do accept that. And we would love to get a donated dummy bodies, where we can put in every school. And maybe I relate this to your question here. Schools are our major aspect of our teaching. We train first boys, girls, and women and men teachers, and particularly the directors, and organized what we call facilitators within the school. These facilitators teach the rest of the school. So school is our really, truly biggest media. And in fact, if you go in Kambat at Ambaro Zone today to school, we have gender clubs, environmental clubs, and what else? Of course, sport clubs is given. But schools are the biggest area, and the Ethiopian government knows our work. By the way, our work is written as a part of the school curriculum in a biology book, and taught for 10th grade, 9th, 10th grade. So Ethiopian government have asked, Ministry of Education has accepted our work.
But also with the Ministry of Health, I would assume, in the health extension programs.
Yes, the extension program, thank you. The extension program also, again, by the way, the extension program, the government adopted it, I think it was in the year 5, 6, or 7, somewhere like that. We had started that program in year 2003, trained communities. It's actually, government has adapted the Minister of, in this film, my friend John Paul would have said, I don't know, you didn't show the full picture, the full video. In that video, the Minister of Health said, we are trying to scale up her work. She's our hero. We are trying to scale up her work. And the community health workers program was adapted from us, from our program. Yes, we do. And we teach the community health workers in social mobilization. We develop their skills. And in each skill reinforcement, we include them in what we do in the neighborhoods.
Okay, well, I'm very sad to have to bring today's event to a close, but we are beyond our time, which means we've also gone off the air because that happens automatically. But before we thank Dr. Bogaletch Gebre, I want to thank again Ambassador Sharon Weiner. Thank you very much for your presentation. Thank again the King Badouin Foundation for all your support on this, as well as, of course, the award to Dr. Gebre. And then let's thank this wonderful presentation by Dr. Bogaletch Gebre.